testing, testing, you want to see that going up and down.
Yep.
And that means that there's audio.
Cool. I'll put my mic on and we'll pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I'm going to call this meeting of the Bike Advisory Committee, Bike and Pedestrian Advisory Committee to order. And in the interest of time, Chief, will let you go first and let us know how things look from your perspective.
Busy, very busy. Town is busy, traffic's busy. I believe we are seeing an influx of bicycle traffic, pedestrian traffic. Our initiative to get out ahead of some of the helmet violations and the bikes and going the wrong way. I've had several meetings with the two of you with the new initiative to try to more enforcement and more education. I believe that's what the direction you wanted me to go, was more education towards both the driver of the cars, but drivers of the bicyclists as well, bikes as well. So we're trying to make that a stronger effort. Our helmet safety campaign is moving very quickly. We're out and about in the community giving tickets out, positive tickets to the youth, and informing them, the parents, about wearing their helmets. The problem I'm seeing is people just aren't paying attention to signage on the promenade, on the mall. They're still riding their bikes through. They're still coming the wrong way on the right. And I've done it myself. I can't sit here and say I've not done it myself, coming down Carpenter's Lane the wrong way. It's causing more problems. I mean, we're going to try to turn them around and get them back the other way. I did visit Ocean City recently, and I don't know if they've done it in the past or they had it, but they had some of these green boxes that you talked about sharing the road and some of that direction that we received. The gentleman's name escapes me.
He's a realtor or something, right? He's
Well,
not
no, the gentleman you guys connected me with from Paul Mikowitz, yes, Mr. Mikowitz. So, his material keeps coming through, and if I have something, I'll blast it on our Facebook page. We now have an Instagram page as well, so we're trying to get out there. We need to connect with that younger group. Facebook's for old people like me, so apparently I'm told. So I don't know, but Instagram. So
it's great. It's great to keep putting it out.
we try to keep putting it out there. I just find it very difficult in a shore community to try to curtail all these bikes and all the golf carts. I was in a meeting this morning with Councilman Yeager. He'll go into some detail about that discussion. I'm kind of in agreement with the direction that we would like to see things go as far as speed limits. But we can discuss that when he gets to his section. But for now, I mean, we're at it. It's just very difficult to educate people who just are here on vacation for a couple of days. We can't touch every single person, so it's, we're trying. We're doing our best to try to do that.
I know the big thing is, what you read on Facebook and stuff is enforcement. That's what
Correct, and
everybody's talking about.
I put the post up with myself out with the kids the other night, and I got pretty much blasted for, hey, the kids are going this and doing that, and this group of kids I stopped, none of them had helmets on, but I stopped them to tell them, hey, you need to wear helmets. Most of them were from the township, and they just were either unaware or they just said, we don't have to wear them out there. I'm like, well, you do have to wear them out in the township because they have the same laws out there that we have here. I said, well, when you come to my town, our town, I said, I'd like to see you wear a helmet. So I plan to be out on the bicycle later on this afternoon and tomorrow, and hopefully I bump into them again, and hopefully they're wearing their helmets. Because this morning I bumped into a family with 4 kids, and they were all wearing their helmets. I mean, people are wearing their helmets. It's just there's a lot of people that aren't, and there's a lot of people that aren't obeying the laws. I mean, a bicyclist and a bicycle and a golf cart have to obey the same laws as traffic as a motor vehicle. So to try to stay ahead of that, the officers were challenged, and we received a couple letters from the public, and instead of me saying it, I said, read the letter. I said, this is what the public is saying about and some of them are signing them, some of them are not, but this is what your public's saying, that you're not enforcing as heavy as we should. And I won't sit there and say that that's all we have to do in a day is enforce, bike safety, because we have a lot of other things we need to do. But it's part of our daily to try to stay ahead of that. And the officers are out there doing it. Again, we are less Class 2s and Class 1s than we had in the past. I've got, a handful where I usually have 15, that number 15 Class 2s. we're very short this year.
You're still short.
We're still very short. You know, I have walking Class 1s and 3 Class 2s.
Wow.
You said you were up at Ocean City?
I was at a graduation in Ocean City, and I noticed from Mr. Mikowitz and from some of the conversations I've had with the other half here, that the green boxes, they were faded, but I mean, I think maybe Ocean City tried it at one time, or were using, you know, the
It's just fading.
you know,
It's just
so
fading.
that was the first time I had seen it.
Okay, well,
But the other thing I
where I'm
did see.
going with this, though, is Ocean City has been designated as, I can't remember the exact term, but an all-American bicycle city.
Right.
Bicycle-friendly. And I was just wondering if they're doing some best practices as far as education or enforcement, signage.
I can reach out for Chief Prettyman, yeah. I can talk to Chief Prettyman about that as well, because one of the things, just driving through Stone Harbor, Ocean City, like some of the stuff that Mr. Yeager's trying to do as far as traffic calming devices, and you go into Stone Harbor, you have to slow down before you get to the reeds, because there's nothing but,
That thing is great.
I think that's something at some point we should look at, but, I mean, maybe
have-
even
we
if
have
it's at the beginning of Lafayette Street coming into town, you know what I mean, the speed, because, I can only do so much with speed signs and putting radars out there on Lafayette and moving them around through the city to slow people down. The speed limit is a problem, the extra bicycles and electric bikes and scooters and golf carts, it's just a change that we're facing. We're trying to, combat it. If that's the worst problem I have in a day, I'm lucky, but I'm still frightened that someone's gonna get really hurt. We had the bad accident on Pittsburgh,
What happened there?
the vehicle ran a stop sign.
What'd you say?
The
Vehicle ran a stop sign.
And she was on Pittsburgh,
She was on Pittsburgh,
on the right side of the road and everything.
traveling in the right direction in the bike lane. And the fortunate part is we did witness it on a ring camera. We had the whole thing. So it wasn't like this vehicle was driving in a crazy manner, pulled up to the stop sign, went through, just didn't give a second look left, if I say. I mean, he was issued, the person was issued for his failure to stop at a stop sign.
Injury?
Yeah, decent. Not death, but lucky the helmet was on.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, I mean, we've spoken to her, my staff has spoken to her since then, she's still in the hospital.
Wow.
So, definitely, and this is weeks after the fatality on Lafayette Street, so it's a concern, but
Yeah.
I think some of the conversation you'll have with Mr. Yeager will address where we're looking to go, speed-wise, but I think we still have a long way to go with bike safety. We're as we do more outdoor dining, as we do more people, things start to get crunched in and in and in. I don't know how to tell people to go. Maybe the bike rental places, I'm very close with both, the ones that we deal with as far as their education when they're renting the bikes. But, like when I come in town, I don't rent a bike. I grab my bike from home or from the campground and I come in, But, the maps are one thing, but I don't think anybody's paying attention.
Right.
I don't think anybody's reading them. I don't know.
Unfortunately, I think it's just really a matter, and you're understaffed. If the enforcement starts coming and the word gets around,
Yeah.
that's
And
really
and
a
we,
solution, but
we don't want to be the heavy, but we want to be the monitor because we're the ones out there. Because of course, we're the ones that are, oh, my kid got a ticket, or, oh, I got a ticket, these bad cops. But I'd rather have that argument than me knocking on the door. It was very hard for me to make the death notification for that family that.
Right.
So it's hard.
I would think it would be pretty hard to give a ticket, because a bicyclist doesn't necessarily have to carry his driver's license, right? Or identification.
Technically, no, but, you still have to abide by the traffic law. So, a bicyclist has to drive in the same one-way direction as a car does on a one-way in the right lane, and, there's no speed issue there, but they have to monitor and use their hand signals, and no one does. I saw a lady today when I was heading to this meeting here. She had 2 dogs in the front basket, and she was actually using her hand signal. I was like, that's the way it's supposed to be, but my head was like, man, if she gets hit, those bikes, or those poor little dogs, I'm like, leave them home. So open to sit and listen to what you guys have to say, what we can do more. I know the enforcement piece of it is my job, and I'll continue that. Even though I'm understaffed, that doesn't necessarily mean that my staff currently can't do more. So I took my conversation this morning from Mr. Yeager and this conversation today, I don't know, put something back out to him. We really need to turn the direction around for the bikes that are going the wrong way. And part of that is us pretty much stopping every time we see it. Hey, you got to go that way, or you can't go. You know, people don't want to hear it. They're going, I don't know what restaurants out there. They're going from Finn's, then they're going down to here, and they're going to this bar and going here, going there, or just trying to get quickly back to their home in Village Green. The easiest way is to cut through town. You know, I mean, we all know the shortcuts to cut through town, and, you know, people don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
I'd like them off Lafayette Street, I'd like them off of Broadway, but again, that's people trying to get from point A, they're trying to get from the farmer's market back to the beach.
Yeah, on Broadway, and I was thinking about that today because I was on it, and is Carol still the mayor? Or?
Yes,
Yeah.
Carol, yeah, Mayor Sabo is.
You know, the solution is take that parking. I mean, that will help so much to take parking off of Broadway. You know, and you know,
Yeah.
maybe that's what we
Good
can
luck
address
with
at some point.
that.
Oh, I know, but I know,
Yeah,
and that's
that's-
county, and
Yeah,
that's county.
yeah.
But what does Carol think? What does the city of West Cape May think?
I've had many conversations with Mayor Sabo in regards to that. She's very, very concerned with bike safety. I've spoken to her recently because my captain, Captain John Bovick, put out an email to them after some discussion we'd like to lower the speed limit in the entire island. You know what I mean? Because like if you look at the barrier islands, all of them are 25. So our issue was the golf carts. We had received a complaint from Cape May Point about the golf carts driving down Sunset Boulevard, and they're supposed to be on roads only 25 miles an hour. Well, it's 30, and then it goes to 40 on parts of Sunset Boulevard. Then on Broadway, it's 30, then it turns to 25 at one point, and then Pittsburgh Avenue is 35. So how do we have golf carts driving on roads that they're not supposed to be driving on, and then you're behind them and you're impatient and you jut out into the road, just like the trolleys and the horse and carriage. I've done it myself. Like you're behind it on Columbia Avenue, you're like, I got to get the Wawa, and you're just when you go around. So reducing the speed limit, I think, will help. That's the piece that Mr. Yeager is going to speak about. But Carol's definitely, or Mayor Sabo, pardon me, is definitely attuned to it, because she approached me about it yesterday at the farmer's market, said, hey, what's your thought here? I don't want to get rid of the golf carts. I'd rather lower the speed limit. You know, so I don't want to speak for her, but I think it's something that should be, I don't know if you guys talk to them or talk to the point, you know, if they have bike committees over there, I'm not sure, or, you know, so I think you guys carry the day. I think a conversation could be had with how do we handle it. You have a lot of traffic coming from West Cape May, some traffic coming from Cape May Point, and they all got to they're all wanting to enjoy our town. We have to figure out how to make them, unless you make this an island completely golf cart and bike friendly, and that's it. I don't know how to do it.
Yeah, I don't think there's a one degree solution to the issue. And to have a thing like Sunset Boulevard be different speed limits.
It's 25 at Sunset Liquors, then it goes to 35 at Cape May, 35 at Cape May Wicker, and then 40 past Stevens Street. So
Yeah.
it's confusing.
Yeah, and that's a county road.
Correct.
Now, they just changed Stone Harbor Boulevard from 50 to 35. I've been doing 50 plus
Your
on that
entire
road
life.
my entire life. At my age, it's easy to hit the cruise control and do 35, 36, whatever.
Right.
And there's just a line of traffic behind you, and you know, and then there's, like you said, there's four speed tables.
Yeah.
So you,
I think they work. I
You
mean,
gotta
I think
slow
they
down.
I think
definitely,
it's great.
they definitely
Yeah.
slow you down,
I
but
think it's great.
and so some of that in strategic spots in the city, of course, would help tremendously.
I think that's where Mr. Yeager is going to go
Yeah.
on some of that, so I'll parry to him for a moment if you'd like, and then we can come back. I don't want
Yeah.
to take up your whole meeting, because I'll talk all day.
No, that's fine. And, you know, and the other thing, which I'm sure everybody in this room is going to agree with, and that is, we're human. So if we see somebody breaking the rule, oh, I guess it's okay. Let me do it too. Down Carpenter, down,
I mean, I really like that speed limit around the mall area to lower a lot more than 20 or 20.
Yeah.
I'd like it to be 15. But, you know, because it's just too much traffic. And you're talking the traffic from the mall over to Elaine's. I mean, it was bound to happen. Something bad happened there, and it did. And
But that was a medical problem.
that was, you know. But if you look at the last couple of accidents, even in the township, all of which were medical issues, I'm not making any excuses for it, but because it could happen to someone that's intoxicated. It could happen, someone's just going 40 in a 30, or in a 25. I mean, the speed could happen, you know?
One of the things we talked about at either the last meeting or the meeting before that was if we're going to drop them, do something creative like dropping it to 19 rather than 20. It just catches your attention more on doing something like that than just.
Yeah, I mean,
nobody
we had
noticed
a,
that It went from 25 to 20, but they would notice if all of a sudden it's 19.
we definitely had a conversation about that this morning, and there was some, you know, there was a clear agreement to do so. But again, that takes some work, and I think that's going to be put in front of council at some point to make some, you know, some leeway there. But again, all of which takes studies and processes, and we got to figure out how to do it correctly. And then Title 39, after I went back and reviewed it in the office with my staff, it was more of, you can't just change something. You gotta make sure that Title 39, which is the motor vehicle code, is in adherence as well, because we, you know, so that we're doing it all in the same order, you know what I mean? So we want to be, you know, I can't enforce something that it goes against Title 39, even though I'd like to just drop it and be done with it, but we have to make sure that, and we've, you know, we have council involved, and, you know, as far as that, Mr. Gillingsports is involved in as well, so, Mr. Yeager, I think you can probably finish that up for me.
Sure.
Mike,
You're done?
I'm sure they'll ask me more
I
questions.
have couple questions. As I was preparing the agenda, there was something on my item list that talked about the one-way streets of Corgi and Page
Yes.
having two-way bike traffic on it, and I'm thinking, well, if we do a good job with Columbia, we don't have to worry about those streets so much. And so getting two-way, because when I'm coming down Corgi and I'm going east, and I see bikes coming the other way, I'm thinking, man, that street's just way tight for people coming the other way. Somebody makes one mistake and it's a head-on collision with a bike. It's like,
Well, I left our meeting today, and I was on my bike here, so I go down, I turn left on Corgi, and at the post office, ladies coming up at high speed, wrong way, on her bicycle.
Yep.
Right, there's no stop sign there, obviously.
Because she's
but,
coming the wrong way.
She's coming the wrong way and just flew right out onto Franklin. And I thought, there you go. I had to slow down because she was flying so fast. I go down, I stop at Jefferson, I continue on, two more bikes coming at me the other way. And as I said in the meeting today, that's what I did quite a bit. I live on Michigan, and to get a lot of places, the best way to get there is Corey. It's going to happen all the time. Hughes Street is, I see the wrong way traffic there all day long. And I think, first, you know, there's reasons for it, such as if you live on Corgi and you have to come to City Hall here, you're not going to go down Washington. I think I would risk, you know, breaking the law and staying on Corgi, or go all the way down to Columbia, come all the way over and up. People aren't going to do that. They're not going to do it. They're going to go the wrong way.
Yeah, the only solution.
Speaking of Hughes Street, a couple years ago, this committee made a recommendation that there's a very dangerous intersection in Hughes Street and Stockton Place. And you're coming down Stockton Place and you have to stop at Hughes. And there's a sign there that says one-way traffic. So the driver is going to look to the right to see, probably not going to look to the left.
Exactly.
It's one way, and it's a one-way
Exactly.
sign
You're
there.
right.
So it goes out, some bicyclist coming down, I don't think it's happened yet, but it's some accident waiting to happen. That automobile driver is gonna make a left-hand turn. The bicycle, you're gonna hit the bicycle, so the bicycle is gonna hit the car. There should be, and what we recommended was a sign there that says, automobile driver, look both ways. To prevent that. Because what we're all, I mean, it's aggravating to see people going the wrong way, but what we're really talking about here is safety.
Yes.
That's all we're about. It's just not seeing people breaking the law, and they're putting themselves and other people who are using the street in danger. So I don't know, we want to, bring that up again, but That's an extremely dangerous intersection.
Okay.
All right, Chief, we've taken up a lot of your valuable time. Thank
No,
you.
I appreciate it. Anytime I can help. I mean, I can stay until I have to go. I mean, unless you want me to leave, I can
No,
leave.
no,
I can-
no.
But I mean, I listen
Great.
and interject if I can, and I'd like to learn. And like I said, my biggest, our agenda here, not the biggest, but the agenda here for the department is to take your message of enforcement. You know what I mean? And I do listen to the quotes on Facebook and people that say, well, why do you do this? But it really, like she said, comes all the way back to enforcement. I can't be the bearer all the time of the wrongs in the city of Cape May, but I will do my best to get the message out to the staff. And if they got to stop every 15 minutes and educate people riding the wrong way, and people are going to be upset with us that you can't make the shortcut, but maybe they don't know. Maybe they don't know that they can't go the wrong way because they're just so used to doing it.
Right.
You know, and I'm very close with both bike shops that are in town here. We can speak to Pedgo and over in West Cape May and try to, you know, coordinate with them a little bit and get that message out. I will personally go out to all of the bike shops and tell them, make sure you're telling your people that you're renting the bikes to go the right way. And then maybe once we change speed limits and do things to the hotels and bed and breakfasts and the Airbnbs, that their packets have to include our bike safety packet. Like, listen, when you come to town, your children must wear helmets. It's impressive that if you wear your helmets, your kids will do the same. And the speed limit is this, and don't do, you know, people don't want to hear a bunch of don'ts, do's and don'ts when they come to town.
Yeah,
But-
but safety's the number one thing.
It is. I
So-
mean, I can't remember the last time I went to a hotel and got the packet and said, let me sit down and read this. I'm like, where's the restaurant? Where's the pool? Let's go. You know?
But I think the bike people.
And what's the
bike-
Wi-Fi
The
password?
bike shops can definitely.
Help.
Every time they rent, they just say, you know, for safety reasons. The one thing I'm gonna try to get in touch with Paul, which I didn't do, was to, and I don't know, do you know if the video showed Thursday night?
I think it did. I'm pretty sure it
Okay.
did.
What I want to try to find from him to see if he has some videos of, if you do this the wrong way, this is what happens. I mean, I came down Washington Street, right at Ocean. I was making a right to go towards Elmira. There was a woman on the other side of the road in the same direction of me, cutting around that corner in front of where the trolley parks. That's where accidents happen, because a car could have just been making a right-hand turn right there and head on. So that's one of the you know, and they don't realize that. So I'm going to try to see if we can find some video that will actually show, if you do it this way, this is what can happen.
Sometimes the shock factor does help. You know, it can definitely impress upon someone that what could happen. I mean, sometimes on our page, I'll show that. Most recent one was where someone was drunk, you know, a teen was drunk driving and the officer was knocking at the mom's house. Like, this is why you don't. This is the after effect. This is what happens to your family if you decide to drink. Like that last call, last drink, I'm going to knock on someone's door. My officers are going to say, ma'am, I'm sorry to inform you that your son or daughter is not coming home. And that's the raw reality of what could happen here.
Yeah.
The young lady who got hit on Pittsburgh, she's very lucky. If she did not have a helmet on, she would not be here. I can guarantee it. Guarantee the strike that she took. And it wasn't that fast. It was under 25. Mr. Yeager has some information for you that will tell you that just that 25 to 30, the rise in fatality,
Oh, yeah.
just that little bit of speed. I think if we reduce the speed in the city of Cape May, people aren't going to like me, but I think I'm not here to be liked. I'm here to be safe.
Yeah.
Lower the speed. That's my recommendation. Lower the speed if it's conducive to Title 39, and if it's legal to do so, we should lower the speed and have a very hard campaign of getting it out there, even if we have to spend a few extra dollars to getting just a one-pager of the do's and don'ts of bike safety here in town. This is the speed limit. This is where you should always wear your helmet. These are the roads you should ride on. Something quick and easy for them to read, and make sure all the hotels have it. You know what I mean? If that's what we need to do. Every hotel has their, you know, if you go to the Grand, if you go to the Montreal, they have on their opening, you know, it's, you know, where to eat in their restaurant. Have a bike safety page. Ask them to put our PSA up into their scroll.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I guarantee every hotel will do it for us. You know, some do's and don'ts, some bike safety tips for them. Most of them are renting bicycles. They're all here, you know, and it can't hurt to ask the hotels to do that, and I think if we come up with, Paul had something we could come up with, how to properly wear your helmet, speed limit, where to ride your bike properly, you have to go down the right roads, and, you know, all we can do is try, and we're
Yeah.
the better for it. That's why this committee is here, that's why Mr. Yeager is here, that's what my job is.
And what do you call, you were saying you have you give to the hotels, it's a safety page, or what?
What page you should ask for it to be on, or on their scroll, like, you know, when you go to a hotel,
Oh, okay,
they'll have what,
scroll.
on their scroll, on
Okay.
their, it's basically, you'd have to input a PDF into their scroll.
Okay.
Something that we come up with, all of us, and they say, hey, you know, they put their dining page up, where to eat, you know, what restaurants, it's like the Channel 13 of the old, remember the old Channel 13 that we used to watch here, the scroll, but just ask them to implement that, you know, rules and regs of Cape May, the do's and don'ts, you know.
But one thing, you know, and again, this whole idea, which is obviously not going to be anytime soon, is to do a bike day in Cape May, or, you know,
Yeah,
whatever. But one of the things that Paul had said was, one of the big things is everybody just being cautious, but also courteous. And that's, I know, but I mean, we could really campaign on something like that, because what I'm now doing is, when I am riding my bike and I can feel the cars wanting to pass me, once I'm in a safe position, I'm just kind of assisting them. You know, it's a straight out, there's no cars coming in from other side, and I just wave them on. So I think it's stuff, education like that. Now, sometimes you can get in trouble with that, but that was one of the big things that Paul talked about, is just trying to get people to be courteous. Drivers courteous, which means you slow down if a car's there. You know, it's just two key words, cautious and courteous.
absolutely. I mean, you know, everybody needs to slow down and smell the salt air. I keep telling people the same thing, but every day, but, you know, you can reach out. I don't know if the chamber has the contact for the hotels, reach out for them to get the message out to them. How can we get the message to your patrons? Maybe invite the 2 or 3 bike offerings here in Cape May and West Cape May, bring them to your meeting and ask them. I mean, I can meet with them, but if they're looking at you guys going, hey, the Bike Safety Committee said, the chief's one thing, but the Bike Safety Committee wants us to do more. Tom Roth, Volpe, Dennis, they'll all definitely adhere to it. I
As
mean,
Chamber of Commerce?
Chamber of Commerce to get the information for the hotels,
Okay.
you know, do a ring tally.
And I'm sorry, who were you just talking about now?
The bike owners, like Tom Roth.
Oh, okay, okay.
Dennis, and then Joe Volpe as well. I'm not sure the gentleman's name at Pedgo, but all the hotels, a lot of them rent bikes or offer bikes, you know what I mean? So they need to know, you know, if you're going to, because really, the liability comes back on them. Like, if you rent a bike, offer a bike, and you don't properly train the person, that's where I go first, you know?
Or make sure they
That's
wear
where
a
your
helmet.
lawyer is going to go first, to say, hey, were you properly trained and taught how to use the bike that you just rented? You know, I mean, and again, I know Tom Roth gives a very detailed education on where you should ride your bike, how to ride a Surrey, because, you know, we buy our police bikes from them. I mean, the bikes that my officers, our officers, your officers drive are purchased locally, you know, and we have training on them, and we're running a bike class here soon for our own officers to get out and about, and I bought electric bikes this year because we're up against electric bikes. So I can't have a guy pedaling pedal power to try to chase someone that's on an electric bike. I drive one. I just drove one the other day, and they're pretty quick.
Jim just took a picture of a sign in Ocean City. Basically, it said, bicycles must follow vehicle.
The blue and white one, I just posted it on our page. I reposted it.
Posted it on Facebook, and a very positive response from the people.
And
There are
if you,
a few negatives, but
Yeah, well, you and I were both responding on those.
if you read that one, when I put that one up, I got the negative of, well, you need to teach the bikes or the vehicles to drive, to do the same. So you get you got to put the good with the bad. You got to put,
yeah.
you know, you got to put that out there. So I'll take that beating. It's okay.
I
But
have a slide that I took a picture of a slide at a presentation Hillary and I were at, and basically it said, at 45 miles an hour, there's an 85% chance of a fatality.
yep, Mr. Yeager has the
We,
same
yeah,
slide.
we were,
Slide.
we were looking at this, actually, there's, you know, it's in a couple of publications, and we went through it this morning.
Yeah,
It was the huge differences from 20 to 30.
yeah.
Huge.
You go from 25 to
You'll take
50%.
5%, won't you?
I'll take it. I'll take, you know,
Yeah.
listen to,
I mean, because,
just wearing a helmet.
and that
at
woman
speed.
who got hit, and you said the driver wasn't going very fast, I mean.
He
thank-
literally stopped. It was more of a California roll, but it was a stop. There was no way he got to 60 miles an hour. It was maybe, 20, 25 miles, because he pulled out.
Yeah,
And
just
then
didn't
she was
look.
there, and just, maybe look left quick, but she was moving pretty quick, I mean, but not at, I mean, I don't want to give the speed, but she was, they were both upon one another within an instant.
Yeah,
And there was nothing, not a tree blocking it. It was literally at the end of one of the Village Green streets, Pittsburgh. Look left, look right, go, boom. And if she didn't have a helmet on, she would not be here.
yeah.
When I try to remember now, I don't always remember, but I'm trying, which I know, I don't know if you do it or not. And you see a lot of, serious bikers out there during the day, they got their lights on. So you have.
Yeah, the white blinker, yeah.
blinking.
Mhm.
You have.
And you're supposed to, by law, you're supposed to have that front light on, and you're supposed to have illumination at nighttime. But
Right,
the
at
the
night.
one that catches your eye is more during the day. That could be also one of the things that you do.
That headlight, and I use it on my bike coming here, because I want people in the cross streets to see me as I'm coming west on Columbia.
Yep.
And they do see it, much better than they see me.
Yep,
And I'm a big target.
yep.
And so, but that blinking light
Yep.
catches their attention.
Yeah,
It's a
there's a
shame.
lot, at nighttime, there's a lot of people, kids, a lot of people out there with no lights at all.
Right.
I don't know.
We'll address that too. I mean, we'll do our best to address that.
Yeah, I mean, around town and, 2 or 3 blocks out over that way, going towards the beach, over that way, there's a lot of kids out there. Because
Oh, yeah.
Thursday nights, I go over to Chalfont, and when I'm leaving at 9 o'clock, it's amazing, And I'm not even saying people that are at Chalfont.
Right.
No, it's just out and about.
They're out and about, Columbia Avenue.
Cape May is a fun town. Everybody wants to be out.
Yeah.
Mr. Yeager, you have speed stuff, or anything you want to talk about with that?
Yeah, thank you.
I think they do have me on the list here to talk about, that. So why don't I just get into it quickly?
I just have one question first, so, if we wanted to have a sign put up, like the one about the bicyclists having to obey motor vehicle laws, let's say on Carpenter Lane, what's the process for getting that, whose decision is that? Is that
The manager.
police department's decision?
The signage
Public
is for,
Works,
the manager ultimately, I would think the direction would be for the manager, then he would direct myself for the Public Works to put it up. I do suggest one at Colliers. That's the main outlet, it's the artery in my head is Colliers Liquor Store, like, talk to them down there.
You talked about, did you happen to follow up on any of that with banners?
As far as the, like,
Material?
as far as the banner, like, there's ordinances as far as where you can put them and how you can put them up and how they can be on buildings or whatnot, but really, whatever you come up with, I think that could be addressed to the manager's office, and then he could say yes or no and where we're gonna put them, and then the ask would be for Colliers. I'm just saying, if you have something like, because you mentioned last meeting or 2 meetings ago about that big banner you wanted to put up, it's just placement of it. I can't have something blocking the roadway. I don't know where I would put it on Carpenters per se, but, maybe some arteries that we could, at the beach end, at Colliers, at different areas around the mall, and then stretch out to, when people are pulling up at the end of Madison, could we put something on the fence right there at the beach on the seawall?
Right.
That they're looking at that, and, oh, well, okay, we need to share the road, or, lights on, helmets on kind of thing with the bicyclists, yes.
Chief, the big electronic sign that used to be either at the elementary
Yep.
school or in front of the Meadows, is that
So-
available to use?
It's available to use once I get it fixed. So I had some damage to it, just sitting out in the sea air. The motherboard went, and it's pretty expensive to fix. And yes, I can put that at certain locations. The one thing I'd like to do is maybe buy one more speed sign. We have one for West Cape May and one for Cape May. The mayor has tasked me with moving it around a little bit more. I think we could benefit from the purchase of a couple of more stationary ones, some in the Village Green section, some on Madison. We'd like, if you're gonna spend any money, they're expensive, but I mean, I would see the city, the one we move around, it takes up space, you gotta move it, whatever, but I think we put some on some, I think the flashing stop signs work very well. I would love to see them all over the place.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They do bring your attention to it. The speed signs, once we can figure out a good speed that we're gonna stay at 25 or whatever, the speed, your speed is this, and then the speed limit below it should definitely be, it's a cost, but What's the life cost?
They really work.
They do.
Well, and
Down
I
Stevens
noticed that on
Street.
Pittsburgh a week or so ago when I was riding down. That was out there for the speed,
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure it was.
Right.
But in the next few blocks, I didn't know what the speed was.
Correct, because the speed, we talked about that this morning, or, how many speed
Place it,
signs
you
will we
know?
need around the mall? I think there was like, when Vincent Orlando, we talked to him about, it would be a handful, because if you drive through the mall, there's not a speed sign. You don't know how fast you're supposed to go. It's just supposed to be ingrained that it's 25. If you don't know, it's 25. When you take your road test for the DMV, it's, if you don't know the speed, you're supposed to adhere to at least a 25 mile an hour on a local road, 55 miles an hour on a state road. So I just think more signage, absolutely, and Public Works was in the meeting, and placement, yeah. Public Works was in the meeting with us, we're all attuned to it, but Mr. Yeager will get into the conversation of what the speed limit conversation was.
Okay,
Well, we'll support you with,
Manager?
we'll support you with getting more, we'll mention something about the speed signs.
Yep, it can definitely help. Mr. Yeager will fill in the spot about the 25 miles an hour and the speed limit portion of a meeting this morning.
Yes, yeah, so we're sort of getting way out in front of this, I would say. The rest of council has a hint as to what we're talking about doing here. I think I mentioned it at the last council meeting, but, at first thing that we're going to try to do is we're going to have a resolution for the county to reduce the speeds on the county roads that are over 25 miles an hour, get them down. We'd like to see them come down, Pittsburgh and is a good example, and hopefully maybe even Sunset all the way out, but I believe that Broadway is,
Yeah, we checked this, during the meeting, we were just confirming, because speeds had changed a couple times, but a portion of Broadway is from Beach Drive to Sunset is 30 miles an hour. So we'd like to, look at that either 25 or 20, and then, like I told you, with Sunset Boulevard, right there at the corner near Doc Mike's, it's 25. Then the Wicker store, Cape May Wicker, it jumps to 35, or 30, and then it goes to 40 at the end in Lower Township. So you've got to remember, Sunset Boulevard is shared. Cape May, a portion of it, West Cape May, and then, Lower Township. So,
and then there's the issue of the rest of the town, which we really feel that there's the best thing that we can do for bike safety, pedestrian safety, is just reduce every other street to at least 20. And certainly the ones that we're talking about, the Carpenter Lane, Lyle Lane, even maybe a Corgi, the really tight streets, people don't drive fast on them. Electric bikes might drive fast on them. We're talking about getting all those speeds reduced. Now, again, this is not something that council has approved. We haven't even discussed it. We will, but we're looking into what do we have to do legally? What can we do? Because actually the Department of Transportation, federal, and the state all have something to say about speed limits, and you can't just change them arbitrarily. But we have a strategy. We developed a strategy we're going to go forward with today. We developed it today, and we're going to begin the process. I think over the next 2 council meetings, you'll hear quite a bit of discussion about speed limits in the town.
Are they going to want to dictate what streets, or are they going to let?
it's in the infant stages of it, if I can interject there. There's a criteria that Mr. Yeager speaks about that, as much as we would love to just strike a chord and say 20 and they make the entire town a certain speed limit, there's possible studies that need to go in line with it. There's a criteria that's, that the Department of Transportation says, okay, you have to have, these things have to fall in line for, because you have a volume concern there, you have we did a study for New Jersey Avenue per se, and when we did that study, it was done in the fall, or the off-season. Then the question rose at this table was, okay, well, what happens in June and July? Well, that number elevates, but how do you dictate a speed for an entire year, for an entire community? Because you can't change speeds within the year. Okay, well, Christmas time it's 20, or it's 25, and then in the summertime it's 20. You got to kind of be consistent, and I would rather it be consistent, and that's what Mr. Yeager is speaking about, is the consistency of it. And then over the next 2 council meetings, there'll be conversation with the councilors that they're fully abreast of the situation, and we'll bring that back to them, and we'll definitely bring your concerns back to them. And that's Mr. Yeager's position, to bring that back to them and, relay that. We would love the speed to drop, but we just need to do it by the numbers.
A lot of towns will, resort towns, it'll say, between these months.
Right, and that, it's just like the beach thing with bikes. People get confused. Well, I can ride it in March on the boardwalk all year, but I think once you do a speed limit, you're gonna have to stay, because the months are one thing, but we are an 11-month town now. So I don't see the reason for it just to be months or a certain time. A blinker and a flasher is one thing. Like, listen, I've grown up here my entire life. Hillary, you can attest to that as well. Beach Drive, and after September, would go on blink, and you would see the tumbleweeds going down the street, and that would be it until Valentine's Day. And then it would pick up at the Tulip Festival. You know, I mean, we're that old that we remember that type of thing. And, respectfully, Ms. Pritchard, but Mike will speak to you as far as, too, is Hoboken had just recently dropped their entire city to 20.
Yeah.
From 25 to 20, and it took a couple of studies, and they're forecasting out to 2030 that it will take that long for the public to actually adhere to it. But it's a start.
Yeah.
And that model is huge. If Hoboken can do it, we can do it. But you got to remember, we are not just we are Cape May Point, West Cape May, and Cape May City. So we got to get the buy-in from all three communities, because it's very confusing to just do Cape May 20 and then drive into West Cape May at 25 and 30 and then up the boulevard. And I've spoken to the mayors out there, and Cape May Point, we need to buy in, and that's where the solicitor this morning was in the conversation, and he's going to draft something up for council to review. And I don't think you're going to have a fight back from council, because everyone wants somebody's safety, and that's what Mr. Yeager's position was, that everyone remains safe, and that's why he's bringing it to the table. And I think I applaud them for doing that, 100%.
I'm quite sure we'll have support from West Cape May, as well as the Point, because we did had some interaction with them when we were developing the map.
Right, and the map is good, it's just people just don't adhere to it. And, you have it red on Broadway, and they're still up Broadway. And I was second on scene for the fatality on Broadway, and watched the videos, and it was bad,
Would speed bumps be considered at all?
Very legal
I
to a
think-
point. The risers like Stone Harbor,
Yeah.
they're illegal, but the speed bumps per se in certain communities
Well,
are,
that's what I'm talking about, the rise.
the humps, yeah.
Which kind of
I would-
polices.
It does. I think you should have them, I think that's part of the study that would go into line. I don't mean to jump over Mr. Yeager, but, that's some parts of what should happen.
And that's a big part of the county.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
But-
on the list. And the fact that the county did that at Stone Harbor, I think is really hopeful, because they've already done it. Hopefully for Cape May, Broadway, some spots there. I mean, they put the Hawk in front of Duckies. I think that's been somewhat helpful.
Yeah, and that type of, you're talking about the yellow flashing light there, that thing should be all over town, you know what I mean? I have a concern for Broad Street Court in that area that we're behind Broad Street, there, Elmira, Broadway. We put the four-way in, but now you have the Broad Street Court housing complex that cars run through there and then get around to St. John, and they're moving at a clip. There's a study being done there, if you remember the last meeting, the county's gonna do a study for St. John and Lafayette. So, we just need to pay attention to that. Yeager.
Yeah, and actually, some of those, the things that people come up with, one of the stop signs, say all along New Jersey to cut the speed down, it's illegal, you can't do it. And it actually, studies show it makes cars go faster. The speed bumps, I think, are illegal in most applications. The risers, I'm sure that there's limitations as to where they can be used and when, but I think everything's going to be on the table when it comes to cutting the speeds down, especially on streets like New Jersey, where
Elmira,
yeah.
I have a personal request from a neighbor that lives in Elmira. Says that the cops are speeding down there. I know that but how much time are they gaining by so many more miles an hour? Because they got to stop at Elmira anyway.
On the West Cape Mesa, on our side you're talking about, on like
On Elmira
between
Street,
the
from
Park Boulevard.
to broad.
Okay,
I was asked to bring that up.
absolutely.
The thing now, with all the construction there and the new power lines,
Lansing
that
Electric,
they're putting
yep.
up there, I don't know if anybody's noticed that when you come out at Venice, now, there's construction and there's an additional fence there. But these pole things are about this one. It's obstructing your sight line, looking to the left up towards the creek.
We have a good relationship with Ronnie.
That's gonna be really bad. When it's all said and done, it's still gonna be bad. And that's where I was thinking possible hump. The neighbors were saying a three-way stop. I don't know, until the police building gets built over here. You know, the police are gonna have to come back and forth. But
Yeah,
that was
we
one of
can-
the suggestions was a three-way stop there, because that's bad.
Yeah, that's not, in a case like that, it's not slowing people down, it's making an unsafe situation safe.
Yeah.
Visibility's a problem.
I mean, you know, we need to make an attempt to resolve that issue there because of that new pole.
Yeah, I can address the police officers on that end of it, and then, like I said, we do have a good relationship with Ronnie Towns and Lansing Electric, and the managers.
Yeah, they've been great.
They speak to the manager's office very frequently, so, my suggestion, I mean, we come up with a lot of ideas here. I think we just need to put pen to paper and just, you know, when you come up with the, hey, Elmira Street and humps, and get them to Mr. Yeager, and that way he can relay them back, and, you know, we can't guarantee on everything, but we can at least say, these are their concerns, and you're the people in the community. You ride bikes, you're out there, you live in the community. You know, I can only address things that,
Yep.
that are real.
Mike, who all is on the committee,
Which committee on this?
on this new safety committee?
Well, it's not really a new
Task
safety
force.
committee. It was really just a meeting that I put together, not even, I mean, I know that the paper said it was a task force. I certainly didn't say it was a task force.
The paper-
I just said, you know, what we were talking about, I brought up the subject of, you know, the mayor asked the question about, can we do something about speed? And I just went ahead and got the people together that I thought could help us get there, and hence we got a group together, and we had our first meeting today. It was the first time we got together, and like I said, it was a great meeting, and we put a strategy together that we think will work if we can get the speed limit reduced in this town, it's exactly the direction we're going to try to go. But you got, as you all know, there's always people who are not totally in favor of ideas like that, but we think it's the right idea, and we think it's the safe idea. We've got to get safer in this town. We got to become more safe, and so that's basically it. Not a task force, but at the meeting today was the chief and myself, city solicitor Chris Gillen-Schwartz, and the city manager and the deputy manager. So.
And Public Works, yeah, they were there. as
And
well.
Public Works, Eric Brzezinski was there too, yeah.
Well, if I may be so bold, I'd really like to have somebody on the bike committee sit.
Oh, we also had our Vince Orlando, our city engineer, was on the call.
I mean, even if I would sit in and you can muzzle me.
Okay, I mean, it's, you know, if you.
Listen, the squeaky wheel gets the oil, you know what I mean?
At this, you know, if we have another meeting, you're more than welcome. But it's not like we're going to be selecting streets. We're talking everything.
Right, but
It's a massive, I mean, if you're there to show support, where we're going to need it is when we discuss it publicly at council.
okay.
If you, you know, there's going to be a public comment period on any kind of ordinance we try to pass, and that's when we need, and in fact, you know, somebody to come in and say, I'm representing the bike and pedestrian committee, advisory committee, it would be the greatest. But, you know, if we have another meeting, Terry, you'd be more than welcome. I'll keep you
Well, I only
informed.
bring that up because I know at the last council meeting, they talked about Lafayette and St. John's, that intersection and what you're going to do with it. And it was just mentioned, the concerns about pedestrians and vehicles. And it's like, but you have to consider bikes in there too. And that's why I'm saying, is just trying to hope that our presence will always be, okay, we have to think about bikes too. Not just, so I think rather than get the information afterwards and then we interject and now you got to kind of rewrite, I think, some open communication in the beginning, and again, to a point. But that would be my suggestion.
Another question for you. Do we, I'll say we, maybe it's you, or understand what the process is, if it's a city road, a Cape May road, to reduce the speed from X to Y? And if it's a county road, do we understand what the process is to, again, reduce from X to Y, so that, everybody who's involved in this understands, okay, this is what has to happen, and
Yeah.
who's making the decisions?
Yeah, I think, well, with the county, the process is pretty straightforward. We are at the mercy of the county. However, the county's very open to our suggestions, and so the way we're going to work that with the county is through a city resolution. We've done it before. As a matter of fact, the whole change over at Lafayette Street, the drop-off zone for the kids, for the cars dropping the kids off at the school, that's all been advanced by 6 months or more, mainly because this council passed a resolution requesting that the county do it. So it's the way we're going to go about it with the speed limit. As far as the city, I can tell you that the legal process is probably, as we understand today, it's a fairly expensive one because you have to have a complete study. You have to have an engineering study done of any street you're trying to change, you have to have that study done. What we don't know is how much it's going to cost, so we are working on that. That we're checking out what kind of cost we'd be looking at if we wanted to change all these streets. And then if that is too expensive, we have other things. We'll go to Plan B, and but anyhow, you can't just change it. You have to abide by federal, state regulations.
That's kind of what I'm asking. If we understand what that process is,
Yeah.
what you have to abide by.
Yeah, we do.
Well,
Who has to sign off, and how you select an engineering company, and, the whole,
yeah.
there's a lot of pieces to this.
Mr. Gillingsworth was in the meeting with us.
Yep.
And we also had, Mr. Here, do this, there's steps to it. You could arbitrarily just do it and then see how it falls, but then that's not always the best way. So, what we also don't want to spend a bunch of money where we could, on something that could be just done, and we could spend money in campaign and more signs and spend $50,000 on a study, or do a decent campaign and buy more speed signs and more speed, adherence, or, so.
And it also gets even more complicated when you start looking at some of the east-west long streets, the New Yorks, the New Jerseys out there. If you just drop the speed limit on one of those streets, well, people start using all the other.
That's why the stop thing happened. That's when New Jersey Avenue was like, okay, put stop signs on New Jersey, it's just going to push it to
They're
New
going
York.
over, yeah. They're going to New
You
York.
basically got to do them all or none.
That's
Our
the way
contention
we
is to
see
do
it.
them all, is to lower speed through the entire town.
But then
That's what we're looking at.
You're doing 8 engineering studies rather than just one engineering study. I don't know.
Yeah, and so when you put sharrows in, you can actually see them because you're not speeding past them. You can you have all these things you want to do and put all these humps in and all these traffic calming issues. Lowering the speed is just one piece of this massive puzzle that you're trying to build, and then education of the bike rider and bicyclist and the vehicular driver. So everything has to fall in line. We just have to continue what we're doing, starting from one piece, dropping in the pieces as we go along to build it.
So it's more than just making a sign saying,
Yep.
19 miles an hour and putting that in the ground.
Yeah, I mean, you go to any campground,
Yeah,
it's 9 and a
it's not so
half.
simple.
Yeah.
The engineering study would be a citywide study, obviously.
That's exactly what we're proposing. I
Yeah.
mean, and it's, so most streets would be 20, but we still have streets that need to be 15. I mean, people drive 15 anyhow, but the point is that we're not going to put a sign on Carpenter Lane that says 20, those streets are going to be reduced.
A few exceptions.
Yeah, and then there's, I know the county's doing that. I just saw drawings today of the loop in town here. I mean, when you come into town, the county's putting, in the middle of the road, they're putting 10-mile-an-hour speed limits when you come in to make the turn onto,
Union.
yeah, Sydney, yeah. As an example, both sides, coming in 10 miles an hour, yes, on the road.
Yep.
That's good stuff.
And as soon as you come into town, they're putting, 25 miles an hour sign on Lafayette. It's one of the first things you see, so you don't go racing down the street. But yeah, so I think there are going to be a lot of good things coming. It's going to take a while, but I don't know if it doesn't have to be forever. I don't see why we can't have some serious action before the end of this year. Unless we have to have a full-blown study that takes a year, so I don't know what that's going to be like. We'll find out.
Vince, have any idea?
He was
No.
tasked with reaching out for a couple of different groups that could give us an answer, maybe prior to spending a bunch of money. Like,
Yeah.
have you done this before?
Yeah.
What does it entail, and how, because we're talking citywide, and
Right.
then,
Right.
that's,
Yeah, I think the city of Hoboken could help you out there, because they did it. I mean, they literally just posted it July 7th.
you can I Googled it after I read the article, it's right in there.
It goes to your best practices thing. We shouldn't be reinventing the wheel here,
We
No.
don't need to, right?
No.
Right.
Yep.
so, yeah.
And I
Yeah.
wonder if Hoboken has, I'm assuming, they probably have a big bike population as well.
It's where it's the pedestrians and the bikes that they're obviously trying to, I mean, it's not just preventing automobile accidents, it's a pretty,
If you Google it, like I
Common
Googled it after Mr. Yeager showed it to us, it just Hoboken, 20 miles an hour. Just put that in, and and how they began,
Right.
fatalities and everything else, and then that 25 to 30, they have the graph in there that says the fatalities rise, the injuries rise with every mile per hour you go over that. So it's not like it's something new, and reinventing the wheel
Right.
is something we don't need to do.
Right.
You could probably take their information and just say, okay, how did they do it? And that's what challenges they face, ordinance-wise, and, backlash. But they're one community versus our three, because I can't forget that I'm in charge of all three of these towns. I want to make it safe for all three. That's what we do.
Right.
We can get there, we just need to continue pushing forward. Hillary, you had something? I'm sorry.
I just was wondering if there was a way we could make this seem less punitive to the public as an enrollment piece. And I didn't know if we had a PR person for the city of Cape May.
We do.
Who
Casey.
is that?
yeah.
Casey Radigan.
Casey is
Yeah,
okay.
Casey's, yeah.
I
so-
mean, I think you hand it off to Casey. I think she'd put together a pretty good campaign.
Well, I was thinking to myself, like, a bumper sticker to start with, or a sign that said, "Welcome to Cape May, slow down and relax." And when you said slow down and smell the salt air.
Smell the
something
salt air,
like
yeah.
that,
Something
kind of
catchy.
like, we live in this beautiful place. Slow down, enjoy it, look at it,
It's like my slogan, come here for vacation, don't leave on probation. It's pretty simple. I tell people that all the time, and it's come here for vacation, don't leave on probation. Respect my town like it's your own.
really, you're here.
The city manager was just saying today, he said he wants a sign that says, you made it, you're here, now relax.
Relax.
Exactly, and reminders over and over around town, slow down. It's the locals you have to watch out for, because if somebody's late for work, they're the ones that are really speeding,
Yeah,
I think.
right.
Yep.
But just as a point with the PR, I think that's important, as
Yes.
a whole campaign to make this, because the local people, I would be happy to send my granddaughter out on a bike if I knew that this was in place and that things were slower and people were educated about it. I'm not letting her on a bike, until she's 20 at this point, because it's too scary in this town. It's like being in a video game, driving
Yeah.
around town. So, Anyway, that's all I had.
You guys have a lot more on your agenda, so if there's anything more I can help you with, let me know. Like I said,
No, you've been a big help, thank you. I appreciate, and we do certainly appreciate your support. and
Absolutely, I mean,
Your
it's-
attitude about this, and it's great.
And I think, like I said, in meeting with Mr. Yeager and the rest of the managers and everyone else, you have a huge amount of support there. We just need to continue that conversation. So, I mean, I was very delighted to be in the meeting this morning, so, it's going to take some work. It's, we were already pulling the data, he requested data for motor vehicle accidents in the city, tickets that were given out, bike accidents, so my staff is already compiling that information so that he is best prepared to hand off to you and the council that we do have accidents. In the month of June, I had 23 car accidents in Cape May. 23. It's a lot. You know what I mean? But people do bang into things. Trucks come into town and they hit things. So 23, 2 DWIs, you know what I mean? So it happens. And that's Cape May, that's June. I can tell you July will probably be more.
Yeah,
And then bike accidents, we have a lot of them. And then it's, if you build it, they will come. And if you have roads and people love to come to Cape May, they're going to drive their bicycle. So let's make it safe as we can. That's
Yeah.
all I can do.
A quick aside, back to the sign, like putting in front of
Colliers.
Colliers.
Mhm.
From the last meeting, I guess I misunderstood. You said that you deal with somebody, do you put together signs, or I know
So
that-
I use a local vendor that makes our signs, like our seal and our challenge coins and different things like that. Like I just made signs up. I don't have them with me today, but I have a little sign that's going to go on every beach entrance as a walk up, and then on the Rotary Park, it's just a sign that says "Welcome to Cape May." It's a beautiful sign. I'll bring it out to you, and it's got a QR code on it that will direct you right back to my webpage, our webpage, and will also assist you with connecting to Nixle, which is our public address system, finding out how to get, our whole webpage for the city, capemaypolice.org, and it goes right back there. It's just a pretty sign that'll do that. So I use that vendor locally because it's, we like to use
And who is
local. Kai Brand, that's Ken Grace,
oh,
Kenny Grace over there behind Cape May Lumber.
Okay.
Kenny
You do
Brown.
banners too, or no?
Yeah,
With
he did.
them?
Yeah, we actually do our National Night Out banner with them.
So we should,
That's who listen, personally, I think that's who you should use because it's local task. We give back to our local community, even though he's in West Cape May. He's phenomenal. His graphics are phenomenal. He'll take something, he could take your moniker and just make it pop. And like I said, I think the entrance to Cape May is always Colliers. I think people line up there and they come down to the mall, they break left, they go to West Cape May, they go into the mall, put something up there, you got the Tuna Club, you could put something on, and there's a lot of people, a lot of places, the Sea View, or even right in front of on Sydney there, as you come up, you have all the Fudge Kitchen and all that, the banner right there at Sydney and Washington, you could put something right there, on the black fencing, so it's not blocking the signs. I don't think that would be a problem, so I think that's whatever message you come up with, slow down, enjoy the salt air, or whatever, or wear a helmet, drive cautiously, something you come up with, Ken Grace can definitely give you what you need there. Not too expensive, and it's local. I'll give you his cell phone number.
Thanks for your time.
Absolutely. Mr. Yeager, anything else from me?
I don't, no, I don't think so. I think we're good
All
from
right.
here, Chief. Thank you.
I'll pop back in with the moniker, which I just got, and I'll get that cell phone number for you.
what's the story with the police station? Is that anywhere yet?
So where it is right now, we're still waiting for the DEP approval. We had the meeting here where we broke everything out and gave all of the locations that we could have went and the reasons why they didn't work per se for the police department and the city. We feel that the location is currently listed at, or tentative to be at, St. John and Lafayette is the best place for it because it connects with the park that they're going to be making there. So we should know, according to Deputy Manager Belasco, by August or so, an answer back. That will then trigger some other permitting issues that'll go on, and I know the mayor and council are trying to move this thing along in a positive manner. The money has been allocated for it, the $5 million. We're excited to get started. If you see the police departments or the fire departments moving pretty quickly, it took a while to get to that point, but that should be, I think the mayor said by Christmas time it should be functional. So yeah, the police department is still tentative to be at St. John Lafayette, and we're just waiting for some DEP approvals.
Which will actually help, I mean, it'll be busier there at St. John and Lafayette, but I guess if they put a traffic sign, traffic light in there, and then the police just monitors. they're
Yeah,
able
that
to
study,
control
yeah,
it.
the study for the traffic light, that's already been put on Mr. Church's desk, and it already been approved by council at last meeting
Yeah.
to do the study there, and I think you'll get and there's more that goes along with that, with actually, not to speak ahead of it, but to indent that curbing a little bit so that the traffic can actually get off and get around that corner a little bit softer, in line with the future tasking of the elementary school where they're gonna have to cut in for drop-off. So that's gonna come in, and I would prefer it to happen sooner rather than later, but there's an element of how the county is doing that road and order, and Mr. Yeager has been involved with that whole process, that we can tell them what we want, but they have an order of business of how they're gonna do it.
Right.
I think all in all, when that project is done, you're gonna see a very much safer Lafayette Street where students are dropped off. The park, you talked about losing some parking spots, but there's gonna be no parking along that section from Jefferson to St. John on the road, because there's gonna be approximately 110 parking spots in the parking lot for the park and the police department, so it's huge. And
Yeah, that's a tough area. I mean, the one thing that I was even wondering is that they were talking about, when they were talking about making a right-hand turn from Lafayette onto St. John and putting in a turning lane
Yep.
at that meeting. I'm wondering, again, back to the bike committee, is factoring in, if they're gonna widen St. John and put a bike lane on either side, something, because bikes are gonna be going there too.
Right.
Well, that's
A consideration again.
unfortunately, the police station is, where it's sitting is at the appropriate setback from St. John's where it is right now. Moving any farther to the east is actually, the JCP&L people said can do, because they have a thing called, if you've ever heard of I've heard it called two things, the bathtub or the pool. But anyhow, there's a big dome over
Right.
there's basically a reservoir under there they pump out.
Oh, that whole thing that they
Contamination.
put in.
Right, the bathtub shields it, so we're restricted to go
Only go that far.
We
any
can't
more
move-
east.
Can't move any more over.
That's going towards a creek, is that east?
No, east, it would be, so like Lafayette Street runs east and west,
What you would consider
Okay.
north.
so as you're going towards the Acme, you're going west, as you're going the other way out of town, you're going east.
What we would consider north.
Yeah, I mean, it's, they've got the right plan there, and they can, certainly not a problem on the Lafayette side of the police station, because there's
But there was some talk about making the sidewalk a little bit wider there, and we're, the biggest piece is getting the land and then setting aside how the road's gonna work, because I'd like a stop sign at the end of St. John before you make the turn on the Broad Street there, and then possibly a stop sign at the other when you're coming, so that you have to stop both ways.
Right.
And then make that soft gradual turn, because we've asked that the students and the families that live in Broad Street have a walkway, a path that goes through the parking lot into the park, so they don't have to come up to Lafayette Street. Again, they can leave their home in Broad Street, and walk right through the park, even though it's partially through a parking lot, through the park, and then into the school.
Right.
Through the fencing there, that would be a
That's kind of
safer.
like that back lane, if you want to call it.
Yes, correct.
Which is in the original.
It's in the original plan, we're just gonna carry it forward. Shane Meyer was very adamant that stayed in the plan, because he was a part of that conversation, and council has continued that
Are
conversation
they doing a new committee again?
for the.
Park?
That, I know there's one for the police department, but we're just waiting for the land, but the park, I think, is part and parcel to it. Lot of work going on, a lot of stuff going for this little old sleepy town
Nothing is easy.
now.
All right, well, great.
All right, I'm gonna step out, I'm gonna grab that information for you, I'll bring it back for you, absolutely. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. What else you got?
Well, the subject near and dear to your hearts, I have to talk about it. Jim emailed often about Columbia. Actually, I believe it was in the last meeting, you asked for, can I explain why there's obstinance on the part of the city as far as putting a bike lane on Columbia. And it came down to, the answer is, the first answer is that there's a cost involved. There's a cost involved to wipe out the stripe that's there and to move the stripe over. It sounds like should not be expensive, but it's actually relatively expensive. And then to go and do the bike lane and then the sharrows on the other side, that expense is already, we're already talking about sharrows going both directions, but it was an issue of dollars and cents, and the way it's scheduled right now is, this is after a conversation I had with the deputy manager and the mayor. They have modified the Sharrow's schedule. Stepping back a second, I think you're all aware of the fact that our Public Works is not going to be doing the Sharrow and the crosswalk work, that we are contracting that out. And it's because we will not put paint down. We want to put the vinyl down, because paint's going in a season. The vinyl is a pretty long-lasting product. It has to be put down with a heated machine, and it's better to just have the professionals do it. So we signed that contract, and the deputy manager assured me that we would actually have all of the Sharrows. One of the first things on the schedule are the Sharrows on Columbia Avenue. If we would want to, continue to look at the other alternative for Columbia, it would really set things back, and we're not going to get to what will be a safer thing, which is just, for now, getting Columbia Avenue done, getting the Sharrows down. I know that, I've seen the drawings, and having a bike lane just one direction narrows up that other lane so much. I just didn't, I guess I wasn't clear as to why everybody thought that was a better alternative to what is, Sharrows on both lanes and keeping it as wide as possible for both lanes. I travel both directions. Obviously, I'll be going that way, going home today. But in any case, the end of the story was, first, it's cost, and second, is the battle lost forever? No, but is it a short-term possibility? It's not likely. What the city would like to see us do is focus on all of the other things that you folks have recommended, the striping, the Sharrows, and all the other locations. Spend the money there, and come back to Columbia Avenue at a later time. But for now, we're going to get Columbia Avenue safer if we just get the Sharrows done, which will be done, I think, in the not distant future, certainly before fall comes.
Yeah, I talked to Lou Valesco today, and he just said, look, because we didn't include, I think, Sharrows in the original bid, we had to, they're rebidding it.
Yes,
So that- Right.
yes.
So there's a little bit of a administrative delay there.
And I think that we didn't have enough Sharrows for the entire length of both directions for Columbia Avenue, but I know that more have been ordered.
His comment to me was, it doesn't matter how many Sharrows we have, the company we're going to hire is going to provide the Sharrows.
Okay, oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Return ours?
I think that well, that's a good point, but they're going to get used, they're going to get used somewhere. Now, whether or not I don't think we're ever going to buy the equipment or use the people to do it, so.
Yeah, there was a consult group years ago that I found that would rent the equipment, train, but that kind of fell on deaf ears.
Yeah.
So are they out to bid now, or has a contract been to start this work?
No, so
So
they
it
had
is
to
out there.
change, they had to change the specifications of the
They
bid.
didn't include the Sharrows?
They didn't include the Sharrows. So I don't think, he made it sound like it's not a big deal. They're going to, just give us some new pricing so the city knows what they're in for.
Right,
He
yeah.
said it sounded like they're going to have to extend the cost over 2 budget years because it's going to be significant.
Yeah, I mean, the last number I heard, and I'm not sure it was for just Columbia Avenue, but it was like $80,000.
Yeah, but they just bought 10,000 in
Well,
Sharrows.
wait
Yeah,
a
yeah.
second here.
Yeah,
You gotta go back a couple of years. And we have that report from 2017 that says one bike lane in Sharrows. We have this committee making a presentation, the two of us, saying we support one bike lane in Sharrows. Okay. We were told all the time, wait till Columbia gets repaved,
right.
and then we can do that. Okay, so that took us a couple more years. Columbia gets repaved, but just paving, there's no paint, there's no anything on this, there's no parking things, so it's wide open. What does the city do? They do nothing, and they don't give a reason why they didn't do nothing.
You mean other than the stripe?
It wasn't a cost issue.
Right.
Because the cost would be the same, whether you put the line here or you put the line there.
Right.
And they went and put the line here in the middle, which now all of a sudden drives the cost up if we have to erase.
If you have to erase that, yeah,
They had
and
the
move it
option
over, yeah.
2 years ago, when they redid this, to have a bike lane. So I don't buy, this is a cost issue now. They caused the cost issue,
Right.
the city did, by making the wrong decision.
Well, I think that,
And so there.
I don't know if,
there's-
you know,
There's
I,
BS behind this, and there's politics behind this.
But I think we have to get it past this, Jim.
Pardon me?
it's not gonna, it's,
I don't,
You-
no, I don't
no.
know why we have to get past it. Why do we let politics and some personal political environment prohibit us from doing the wrong thing? This is Cape May, and we're supposed to be above that.
well, I hear what you're saying, Jim, and
Yeah,
this
you'll-
is a long,
you'll
but,
mess up.
I mean, I hear what you're saying, and the only way to fix it is to spend money that they didn't intend to spend, and so I don't think that's going to happen, number one. And I think that Columbia Avenue can be, with Sharrows, can be a safer street than it is today, but it's not. I know one thing, as I looked at the crash data, there's never been a crash on Columbia Avenue of any kind. I don't know, that doesn't help, but again, I don't feel, I feel that there are a lot of other places in the town that really need our attention, more so than Columbia, and we can get Columbia Sharrows done pretty soon, and move on and handle some other things. I hear what you're saying. You're mad about the way it happened. I can't help that. I wasn't here 2 years ago. I wasn't here when any of the painting was done. I can only tell you what they tell me. And at this point in time, Columbia Avenue is not going to come out as as it was recommended. It will come out soon. It'll be one of the first streets in town with Sharrows on it.
Are they
Well,
planning?
but I think it reflects bad on the individuals
Well,
who are making that decision, that they're making, that,
But they're not
there's
even
other
in the
stuff going
administration
on.
anymore, are they?
Pardon?
But Jim, they're not even in the administration anymore.
no.
So that's why we need to move forward, I think,
I can help.
Council is-
I can help you with some things. I can't help you with this.
Well, and that's, yeah, I mean, everybody's just going to kind of, shut the door, let's get past this stuff,
We-
don't pay attention to it. And that's the practical thing to do. It aggravates me that some people are putting their own stamp on things rather than doing the right thing.
Right. And I'm not asking you to ever lose your, anger, or I won't even call it anger. You're disappointed. I won't ask you to lose that disappointment and to keep your eye on Columbia Avenue's future, but for now, I think, I can't do much.
Well, maybe they
Fix
could
it.
do the second right thing then and put a four-way stop at Columbia and Franklin, or Columbia and Jefferson.
Yeah, I think that, can I say that I know it's been discussed, I think that there's support for that. When that happens, I'm not sure under what circumstances, but
My thought was,
I don't think that's going to be a major obstacle.
I think one of my thoughts is that it should be more Jefferson than Franklin, because Jefferson, when the park's all done, that's where people are gonna be you know,
Coming down.
It doesn't matter to me, either one.
Yeah, I'm just
One of the
saying
two should,
that,
Right, right.
but that's way.
Mike, thank you for looking into it.
Well, sorry, I didn't
No,
have
no,
the
hey,
better answer for you.
put your best foot forward,
You know,
though.
the other thing that we could have done is backwards, but if they'd used paint on Columbia to paint the sharrows on, and then when those wore off, there would be time to sort of get enrolled in this idea of the hybrid bike lane. You know, it was part of the study that the professionals came up with this idea, even though it seems like the other lane would be awfully narrow. It was done by professional DOT bike people. So
Yeah.
that's why we hung on to it this long, but.
The other thing is now we have that 4 foot. Was that based on 3 feet?
No, it was 4 feet.
No, but the study.
Oh,
based on 3 feet.
Oh, it's a 5-foot bike lane. The design is 5 feet.
Okay.
And that was certainly one of the problems, because it made two 11-foot wide, which is narrow. We know that's narrow. That's what we're going to on, Pittsburgh in areas to make it, to slow people down. But, yeah, it was two 11-foot driving lanes, and of course, the one driving lane is right up against the parked cars.
Well, that-
So
yeah, that's my
that's,
point. Then you have the
and then there was, the 5-foot wide bike
The
lane.
problem is painting, if we were to paint, now the city's got to buy stencils and they got to paint. And now we have $10,000 worth of, I'll call them iron-on, I don't know, what are they called? The,
Yeah, it's a heat,
No.
whatever, heat,
no, the heated
yeah.
oils. So-
It's vinyl. But, and the problem again is that we would have to be hiring somebody else to do it, because we don't have the staff in Public Works.
Does the professionals that you're hiring, do they know where to, they know all the ins and outs of where to place the sharrows? Is it up to the city to determine how many crosswalks we're putting in around the city? Do they make recommendations? How does that work?
I thought that this group made a lot of recommendations on crosswalks.
We have, and is that list?
I would hope that that's the type of thing that's being followed. And in terms of where the sharrows are supposed to go, unless there's a standard
There's a
somewhere, okay.
There's a standard.
I mean, I would think that they would look to this group again for guidance as to how far apart they should be. If there's a standard, then I'm sure that's what's going to be set at. But
Eric
we can, we can confirm that with Lou.
He did.
Yeah. Eric Brzezinski researched that. That's why, because we thought they were going to do Carpenter and Lyle first with Sharrows.
Right,
Sharrows
right.
and Columbia. Then he couldn't do Columbia because you had to do the whole street. You couldn't leave it partially undone.
Yes,
So it has to be done all at once.
right,
Yeah.
right.
So Carpenters and Lyle has to wait on Columbia now?
Yes, yes.
Which we talked about.
Okay.
Well, we kind of talked about that only because in the summertime, with all the traffic and everything, that Columbia is wider open and they can do it more quickly there
Yeah,
than have
yeah.
to work around the public this summer.
Sure, at this point, I agree.
That'd be really tough. That'd be hard. Well, anyway, time flies. It'll be Labor Day before we know it. And not that things slow down here at Labor Day, but
Are they talking, the company that you did get the bid, what are they talking turnaround? Once this is all approved, are they saying that they'll start right away?
I had the impression,
Okay.
I talked, again, that was a conversation with Lou and the mayor. I had the impression that this is something that's happening pretty soon.
Okay.
yeah, based on your comments about council meetings, I think it behooves us to, at your, maybe you can let us know when there's going to, unless it's an ongoing discussion you have a council meeting every 2 weeks, correct?
Yes.
To have a bike advisory committee member there, just to represent, to make noise,
Well, so the next meeting is going to be resolution on reducing, the county speed limits.
Right.
And I said, I want to wait one more meeting where I'm going to have as a discussion item, but the public doesn't get involved with that. Actually, if we have a first reading of a resolution, the public isn't given the opportunity to comment there. The second reading, the public can comment. So I'll just make sure that you know,
Right.
Jeff, and make sure you know when, whatever meeting it is, we're going to have a discussion that the public can comment on, because I think it would be a good idea.
Oh, yeah, no, I think it's valuable, because then you can't deny it, that,
Right.
you know.
Well, but you could still, as an individual, at the end of the meeting,
Yes,
come up, I mean,
You're-
past the
that's right.
resolution stage, but you can.
that's right. You can talk about that subject you can talk about anything
Anything.
in the open portion of the meeting, at the end of the meeting.
So what's the process again between resolution and an ordinance?
Well, a resolution is really just, we're not making a law in town. What we're doing is we are saying that we are resolved that we want the county to lower the speed limits. An ordinance is actually basically a law that's being passed.
Okay, so in the resolution is presented by council, it's discussed, and then do they vote on it
The,
then?
the discussion is my, it's up to me or anybody else to have a discussion. It's not even a first reading. So you can go past that. You can have an ordinance drafted and then have it read at the first, the first reading. You can do that, but I would prefer, when it comes to the speed limit, this is going to be very, I think it's going to be controversial to a lot of people. So my proposal was that what we do is we have a discussion item so that all the council doesn't get surprised by an ordinance. It would be, I think, it's a courtesy to say, let's have a discussion, let everybody in council weigh in on the item.
So that's the ordinance. The resolution is just giving out the idea, correct?
Yeah.
Recommendation.
The resolution that I'm talking about, we're just going right to it. That's going to be the next meeting.
Read it.
So we are going to have the first reading at the next meeting and I don't think that's controversial. I think everybody would support that. And that's, we're hoping that we have West Cape May and Cape May Point doing the exact same thing at the same time.
Okay.
Would the resolution include only Cape May? In other words, would it include reducing the speed limit in West Cape May? Or are you just looking at Cape May itself, recognizing there's both city and county roads in Cape May?
We are looking at Cape May only. However, it's not like we can't discuss this. I mean, the other two municipalities will know what we're doing and can get involved in it. But if we're talking about Sunset, that's a county road, I believe.
Right.
Right, yeah.
But the chief's point was, is that the Cape May Police covers
Yes,
those,
yeah,
those.
yeah.
So you can't have it in one town and not the others. If you can pull it off in all three towns, then you've got
It-
uniformity.
It would certainly be better, but, I mean, Cape May Point's certainly into it. I can't imagine West Cape May doing it.
You can't imagine them doing it?
I guess I look at some of those streets, Sixth Avenue or whatever, and making that, maybe it should be a 20, there's no sidewalk on it. Maybe it should be a 20-mile-an-hour road, you know? But,
Have they been invited to this discussion?
no, this discussion just happened today. We
Is
just,
there any reason why you can't invite them to that discussion?
Well, they certainly can be informed of, this is what we're doing. If it comes down to a traffic study having to be done, that's a pretty big deal. I mean, but keeping them informed, I'm pretty sure that that's something that will happen.
I mean, something that Aaron can just send a letter out and say, this is what.
Oh, yeah, yes, absolutely. I would suspect that, I would think that our solicitor would probably have conversations with people in the other two.
Could you confirm that?
I can, well, he'd have to be informed. That would be something that would be interesting, but
Yeah, I guess I'm just asking.
I see it. I don't want to go through, I don't want to do much until I bring it up for discussion with council, because it could hit a brick wall, or it could get, and if it gets support, it'll be in the newspaper, and yeah, it's a perfect time to let them know.
Are you feeling that?
There's some traditionalists, just like there are in anything, that are gonna, don't tell me that I have to now do 20 miles an hour when I've been doing 30 all my life, or
Or.
whatever.
And-
And I'm
This is gonna
safe.
cost money.
Well, and it's also, it's the age-old issue, is that, everything, they're going to say enforcement. What you need is enforcement, and that is so much easier said than done. You heard the chief today. I would imagine if you wanted to enforce the speeds on all of the state streets in Village Green and where I live, you would have to double your police force just to patrol that area.
That's where speed bumps can help you.
Yeah, they could.
Stop signs and things like that. Yeah, well,
Okay.
thank you.
Well,
Thank you, Mike.
you bet,
We,
You're welcome.
Did I give you any more subjects?
Let's see here.
Yeah, I don't know, and I think I've mentioned this before with whether Shane has a relationship. He's the guy that really has a relationship with Atlantic City Electric on Elmira, correct?
Oh, I don't know.
Is that correct? I thought it was Shane.
That,
Because I don't know if eventually down the road they're gonna end up, if Atlantic City Electric's gonna repave around Elmira with all the work that they're doing, so, I thought Shane maybe was the one. I know
I
he put the
don't know.
sidewalk in. He got the sidewalk in on the other side.
she's asking if it's Shane Meyer that has the relationship with Atlantic City Electric.
Meaning, as far as if they're gonna be redoing the road, or if we could get a speed hump in there,
Oh, I got you. I'm not sure if that was a part of the contract or not, but I'm sure, listen, Ronnie Towns and the Atlantic City Group, they're fully vetted into the city of Cape May, so I'm
Yeah.
sure that conversation could be had. The manager's office talks to Ronnie. She sends us weekly updates to council and to the manager's office, so I'm definitely thinking you could do that. But if Shane had pushed that agenda in the beginning, I'm sure if he's watching or listening, he could help us out with that.
yeah, if, maybe you can talk to Shane and see if he has any sort of influence on that about our concern, the possibility of putting a speed hump there.
I
know it
can
can't
do
happen
that.
Until that whole project's done, which is, was it a full 2-year project?
Full 2 years, yeah.
So we're nearly a year into it?
Yeah, and you're going to start picking up more of the heavier work in September, so they're still working on site, but the cross lines,
Right.
they're going to be working on that come September. That project steps back up, and that's when my officers will be back out there running traffic and stuff for them.
So, Councilman, if Shane does have a relationship with them already, then, and I know that Shane's very concerned about people slowing down and stuff like that, and we'd have his support.
100%.
See what we can put on him.
What's the name of that street, Elmira and?
Elmira and Venice,
Venice, yeah.
right, right near the Atlantic City Electric substation.
Yeah, no, I'll ask him.
Speed hump or three-way stop, which
Yeah.
is another study, but a speed hump would be more infrastructure and,
I think the stop sign was vetted already, and the question, it was more of a, you don't put stop signs in to control speed. I think that was the answer back that we got back. So the speed hump will be the only option because you already have one on Venice. So,
But now we have the sightline issue.
correct. I think once that fence is going, that building's back far enough that you shouldn't, even with the big pillar that's there on the first one,
Everybody slowly drive your car from the bridge.
in.
You know, disregard the fence, but just see the cars that are coming out of Venice and see that blocking of, you know.
Right. I'll take a look at the sightline on my way out. I definitely will.
Well, it's certainly different than it was, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, as nice looking as the building's gonna be, you do create a blockage of sightline.
And, you know, Atlantic City Electric's been great. I know there's some issues with the neighbors, but I live up the street, so it's not, doesn't impact me as much, but
The neighbors
Our
have been
feeling-
interesting,
our
yes.
feeling is that most of the neighborhood is just very, very pleased with what
Yeah.
Atlantic City.
Right.
I did print out the article from Hoboken, one of the articles from Hoboken I was gonna give you, because I know you were, and then Ken.
Yeah, yes,
Ken Grace's
it's
numbers on there as well. Some of the stuff he's done for us in the past, this is our new Welcome to Cape May sign, that we're gonna be using on the mall. After I speak with the bid, it's a QR code on it as well, so people can walk up to it, get the QR code, and, get to our website to apply for Nixle.
Is the sound system working?
I believe it is.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm talking loudly in it, and then we have, Ken's make these up, he basically makes these from scratch, and then our own stuff that we use, so, very good to do that way, so, all right?
nice, thank you
Neat.
very much.
Absolutely.
All right. I'm going to call this meeting, call an adjournment.
Well, we have to
Okay.
do a quick, we still haven't, this is our first meeting that we've had we didn't have the last meeting, so we didn't approve the minutes from before. I don't think we did.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Second?
Any discussion on that motion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, and did we discuss all this other stuff?
We didn't, but we're going to have to do that via email. I've got an appointment to get to now, so.
Okay, okay. I'll just go through what we didn't discuss and make it a little bit clearer.
Yep,
All right, good job.
thanks.
Thank you.
I just was Googling.
Councilman, you're okay with me
speed
kind of
bumps.
shooting
You know
some
what they're called?
more of the,
Sleeping pills?
putting stuff like this together, just FYI, some guidance? Okay,
Need more sleeping
Okay.
pills?
Not only do I not mind, I
okay, okay.